Even I ran into Ben Stiller and I said to him, I think there's a part perfect for you on the show. Would you ever want to do it? He goes, oh, absolutely. I said to Larry, Ben Stiller wants it. Yeah, and Ben was great on the show.
When I said I wasn't sure what to expect with you, immediately you can tell because you're giving off, I have a good intuition about people, I feel. So I feel all of that from you, what you're talking about, the place that you are in now,
right,
and the kind of person that you are.
Yeah.
To me, it comes through very loud and clear.
Well, it's been a jump for me, and I'll explain why in terms of me doing stand-up, which is the only place I used to feel content.
Because it's not just during stand-up that I'm telling you. It was like when we were talking backstage,
right,
in those like 5 minutes that you and I were together, I was like, I like him a lot.
Thank you. And I was just being me.
Yeah,
but what I wanted to say is I've always been vulnerable on stage, at least the past 15, 20 years. But now I'm so in a different place that it's even more vulnerable and more real. And I pray that it's funny, but I'm me on stage, legitimate. That's another thing too. Every comedian's different, but when you see me on stage, I'm the exact same person that I am off stage. Like certainly it's a bit heightened on stage, but it's me, both places. It's me. And Curb Your Enthusiasm, I was me playing a character that was me except for his lack of values.
Okay.
And cheating on his wife. Those things are not me. Even when I did the Goldbergs and I had to call my kids morons, that was difficult for me. I was playing a character more on that show. That wasn't like me. But still, inside, even though I'm playing a character, very difficult. I would never call my kids morons.
Right, but you were acting. That's...
Yeah, no, I did, but I was still uncomfortable with that. And then Curb Your Enthusiasm, I'm playing this really man lacking in character, really no character, but I'm playing him exactly like me. There's no spin on it. If the character had character and the character was who I am, I would still have played it the same way. Well, that's the thing about comedy. I'm thinking of Alan Alda in Crimes and Misdemeanors. Comedy, you bend it. Now, anyhow, the point being is, I really feel this, especially as an actor, you play comedy and drama exactly the same, and either you're funny or you're not, and the writing's funny or not. If you're trying to make something funny, it's already failing on every level.
Right, you want to be like the authentic person, a real person.
You want to be authentic, and Neil Simon. I met him a couple times, and I was talking to him about this, and I said, what do you look for? What are people when they come in an audition? Because I was heavily involved with the casting of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I said, what do? He goes, if anyone puts a spin on it or tries, they're not getting the job.
Okay.
Because you have to be, whether it's Neil Simon, Larry David was the same way. If you came in and tried to be really funny, you're out. Like J.B. Smoove, who plays Leon, he just came in as that character effortlessly, and the next thing you know, he's on the show. He was originally going to be for one season, but he was so great that we kept him through the rest of the show because he's fantastic. But his audition was he was Leon. He was the character, and he just did it matter-of-factly. And most of the people who were successful on our show, when they auditioned, and a lot of people who were famous had to audition for the show, especially early on, a lot, because he wanted to see them doing it. I learned a lot from that guy, and also one of my best friends. Susie is, actually we're all extremely close. We are. And,
okay, you were saying, I have to go back to something anyway.
Go back.
I'm going to go back to like 5 things.
I mentioned this on stage. I used to be able to digress so many times. Now, one digression, I'm lost.
Yeah, well, I'm
and if I'm reminded, I go back, but I don't know where I was. Or I have to take 2 minutes to remember Oh, yeah, I was talking about this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got you because I have those things in my head. Think I have to go back to this.
Go back to anything.
So I'm going to go back in reverse order. So you said you were very involved in the casting. So they come in, they do auditions. Are you thinking who would be good for the show beforehand? Like, is that part of the casting?
Allison Jones casts most of the shows and seasons, and other people cast, and I'm always thinking, who would be great? Even I ran into Ben Stiller and I said to him, I think there's a part perfect for you on the show. Would you ever want to do it? He goes, oh, absolutely. I said to Larry, Ben Stiller wants it. Yeah, and Ben was great on the show. But it doesn't have to be somebody famous, someone else who I know. Oh, they could kick ass on this. But they still had to earn it.
Right, so they would come in and audition, improv audition.
But they would improv with Larry, improv with me and Larry, Cheryl. Like, you're auditioning with cast members. That is overwhelming, I'm sure, especially the Larry David part. So what I used to do also was go out into the waiting area and just be really kind to everyone and tell them they can't do wrong, just to be real. I said that to them. I prepared them. And still some people completely ignored that. But I thought as an actor, if someone from the audition is coming out and being kind to me, that would be very calming.
Yeah. Yeah, but just imagine what they must have been going through at the time, and it's something that it's not like the other things. So I can tell you that I've interviewed a lot of actors, and almost always, so many people have mentioned their ideal type of project is Curb. Of course,
that's so nice.
Everybody wants to do that.
Yeah.
And of course it was so successful, and you guys are so, you're
beyond
icons.
my wildest imagination. Because the only two people that were involved in the show from the very, very, very beginning is Larry and I. We're the ones.
So is your idea together?
You take an idea. Hold on. You take an idea to a genius, and a genius makes it Curb Your Enthusiasm. I took my idea to a genius. He makes it into Curb.
Oh, so it was your idea.
But
I get it. I hear you.
I went to a person.
Yeah.
We went to lunch when there was a kookaroo across from Nate and Al's. We went to lunch, and we were talking about this, that, and the other thing. And he said something to me because HBO had wanted to work with him. I go, well, I have an idea if you ever want to do this. And that was the idea. Great, my idea. If I would have told it to 99.9% of other comedic people, it wouldn't have been what it is. Or it would have been something different and not as good. So Larry David, I thought of it. You get these inspirations, but Larry David made it something. And it wasn't even supposed to be for a series. It was just a hour-long, special / pilot. Because Larry said to me, first day of filming, he said, wouldn't this be great to do as a TV series? And I thought, well, yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm going to be doing a TV series with Larry David. And then 12 years later, people think we're one of the greatest half-hour comedies in the history of television. And I can accept that because it's a group effort, and it's Larry David, who created also one of the... how often does a genius come in and go, all right, Seinfeld, what else you got? All right, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I've learned so much from him, but I will say this, being bipolar, a lot of times on the set, I didn't have a good time because I was so dark. I was, when the camera was on, I was able to leave that behind. But when it was kind of like the comedian crying off stage, the tears of the clown. I don't recall.
Did everybody know? Could anybody tell? What would you do?
If I wasn't, so I acted two things. One is I acted in terms of my silliness the same on Curb as I did on the Goldbergs. The Goldbergs, most of my silliness and political incorrectness, or I had a lack of. Oh, I'd sing a song about my grandma's balls. I get sent to HR. The HR person would say to me, you can't sing a song about your grandma's balls. He'd say, grandmas don't have balls, and it could be activating for someone, which of course is ridiculous. But that's the world I lived in there. And then on Curb, if I was quiet, people would come up and ask me what's wrong with me. On the Goldbergs, probably if I was quiet, some would ask me what's something wrong with me, or someone would think, oh, thank God he's quiet. Because I know there's people on that set that really liked me and really thought I was funny.
So who liked you on that set?
I'm talking about crew members.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the
Yeah,
actors.
yeah.
Some of the actors really, actually all of them dug me, to my knowledge.
So it was
But
really
the
an
crew,
HR situation that was...
The HR person didn't quite groove to it or get it. And I accepted that. I remember my last day very clearly because I'd been told by the HR person, blah, 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 and I called up, I had my manager and my the producer of the show, the executive producer of the show, and they were in the last session with the HR person. And he was asking me to do this, and I go, oh, fuck, can I do this? And I didn't do any of the raising the voice, but my manager and the executive producer, they were trying to protect me. So I called them both that night, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I probably won't be as funny on the show because I'll have to be really controlling myself, which, by the way, I don't even have to control myself. It's not even being controlled. I'm just who I am now. And if I say something silly, it's going to be appropriate in the moment. Not that I wouldn't sing a song about my grandma's balls again, because that's ridiculous. But the last day I was working, I'd already felt, I didn't know who kept calling my name into HR. I didn't know who was saying, because someone was reporting me, or some people. And so I was paranoid. Combine that with it gotten so bad that I was just overwhelmed. And we're filming a scene. And in the scene, my son's character comes in with Little Caesar's Pizza. And he goes, hey, everybody, I got Little Caesar's Pizza. And we're all supposed to say, I love Little Caesar's Pizza. And I said, hold on, this is the rehearsal. Hold on, and I go over to the producer and the director, different producer who protected me. And I just said to them, well, this is a commercial, right? And they said, yeah, we're making some extra money so we can afford to pay an extra writer. And I thought, Sony's a billion, hundreds of billion dollar company. They won't pay for one writer, and I got to do a Little Caesars commercial to have that happen. They said, yeah, they're watching in the next room. That's what would happen when the client would be in the next room watching.
Oh, the client meaning an advertiser?
Yeah, well, the advertising agency and Little Caesars.
Oh.
And so I've done commercials, I said to them, for a lot more money, and I don't want to have my work tying up with a commercial is reprehensible to me. It is. I understand I have a variety show sponsored like Milton Berle or Jackie Gleason. It's sponsored by State Farm Insurance, whatever. That's very clear.
Yeah, it says that.
Yeah, it's sponsored by at the beginning. Well, we're selling soap through commercials or whatever. That's the reference I call it. Just you're selling soap, and your ratings matter as to how much you get to sell the soap. So I said, fellas, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to do the first part of the scene, and before my son enters and says that, I'm going to excuse myself to the bathroom. And they said, okay, because that it wasn't up for discussion. That's what we were going to do. And I sat down, did the scene with two of my friends, Dave Keckner and Tim Meadows, are in the scene with me, and I do it, and I leave the bathroom. They shot it a couple times. I'm shot out. And as I walked away, I said to the producer director, have fun with your commercial. And I knew I was never coming back to that set again. In my mind, I'm out, because you can't try and fool people. This is the show. They like Little Caesar's Pizza. It's all got to be separate and real and honest. That's the way my mind works.
So you mean you were deciding to yourself, I'm not coming back?
I'm not coming back. There's no way. When I got outside, that HR person was there, and I had really been quiet all day, not sang any songs. And for me, it was because I didn't like the material, and there's that period of where they're doing a setup and making changes where I got to just sort of stay, and that's what I needed to do to rev me up to be in the scene. And so when I left, they said to me, Jeff, he said to me, Jeff, I knew you could do it. That was great. Well, I felt good about that. And I got a call from my manager, who I was about to call to say, I ain't going back. And then he called me and he goes, I just got a call from Sony. And I said, what did I do now, as a joke? And he said, they think you're a liability and they want to wrap your season out in a couple days. And so what happens is I said, oh, okay, fine. And great, 2 days, and I got like 7 more episodes in 2 days that I get paid for. Great. But I kept on thinking about, I don't want to come back to that set as dead man walking. Hold on, dry mouth is horrible for people. Yeah. I hate listening to an interview and someone's like, so.
Yeah, okay, take a pause. We'll go right back in.
Okay, so I said, okay, but I became manic because I didn't want to be, I came back to the set. If I came back to the set, I'd be dead man walking, and I'm also paranoid. Who created this thing? So on every level, it was like, I don't want to go back. But then I'd say, fuck it. It's a lot of money. Go back and finish this up. And then I would be, no, I can't do it. My poor manager would get these calls. Yeah. And then I knew I remember I do the hyperbaric chamber. I don't know if you know what that is. And I was in the chamber, and I couldn't focus I watched Netflix in there, and I couldn't focus, and all I thought was, fine, I can't do it. That's it. I'm not doing it. And then by the time I was done and I left to walk to my car, I was weeping. And I thought, no, you got to kill yourself. You're done. It's over. And that's when I called Susie when I got in the car. I was crying. I was weeping to her. Because, the idea that I would go back and it'd be horrific, and also the idea that people didn't like me because I was, my worthiness was based on whether they liked me, and I wanted to be everything to everybody. That made me crazy, and so bloom, and I had just been diagnosed as bipolar. So
you were just before that?
No, yes, just.
Like a week before?
Maybe not even that, okay? The week before, the end of my time on the Goldbergs. That's why I said, well, maybe I'll listen and I'll just be, quiet. But it affected my performance. It affected everything. But, I remember they kept saying to me, save your comedy for the stage when you do stand-up on a comedy show. Boom. And I replied very sarcastically, well, clearly there's no comedy going on here. I will save it for the stage, I was that way. So that's what led me to this really dark point where I was suicidal because it was all too much for me. And then I'm at the place, which was at the Lindor Center in Cincinnati. I had a choice of going to a place in Beverly Hills or Cincinnati, and I thought, no, I need serious treatment. I'm going to Cincinnati in the middle of winter. I'd heard a lot of stories about rehab places here in LA, and I'm sure some of them were excellent, but I didn't want to take a chance. So I went in the middle of winter. So I'm there. I'd been there for a night, 2 nights, and in the trades it shows up that I'm an asshole, that I'm lecherous, all these things. And at the time it was all, I actually went into shock. They had to cover me with blankets.
So you started shivering?
Yes, and my body went into shock. I could not believe it. And then as I spent time there, I was like really okay with, and that's the thing about when you go in these situations and there's things said about you. I think anyone, whether it's attempted assassination or an assassination, you always come out and you got to come out and say what your part was in it. And my part was, I was not a person you wanted to work with because light or dark, manic, not manic, like it all, and that's not a person you want to work with. But what really still hit me, and it doesn't hit me anymore, was that I was not a man of character with women. And look, I can't speak to that from the standpoint of, I don't know that, I don't think, I can only speak to what I know I did and how I feel strongly about, and that was me being an asshole or inconsistent with who I was. The other stuff, I knew a lot of women who would back me, especially ones who I've helped with their career and all this stuff. I wasn't going to throw any of them under the bus to defend me. They did, some of them, on their own, but I was never going to ask them because I thought that was rude and it would make me not as responsible for whatever was going on.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, no, I'm not throwing any.
Right.
And so I have women that I am. Some of my best friends are women. I love that. Some of my best friends are black. I swear to God. Yeah, but I have I'm so close with some women from my lifetime that I depend on, that also fill me and I fill them. We have a real relationship, and the idea of doing anything to them, in terms of and they're like really successful women.
Who are we talking about?
I don't want to say.
Oh, come on. These are good stories.
No, I don't want to throw them under the bus, but some immensely successful women that I help get to where they're at.
Yeah, I don't think that's throwing them under the bus, though.
No, I don't want to do it.
And you don't have to do it, but let's just talk about if that's throwing them under the bus, because they are the ones who know and would stand up for you.
Yes, but
did they stand up publicly, or they just haven't said anything?
I didn't pull them into it.
Right, you didn't pull them into it. Okay. I thought you said that a few people did say some nice things.
Oh,
anyway.
they did, and some of them I might have. I'm not going in. Basically,
fine, yeah.
I can only talk to what I'm responsible for, and I want to show respect to the women in my life. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
And so when people come out and start defending themselves, they look foolish. So I refuse to defend myself.